ever since I renovated this, and it should be red, you can see a tree scrape there. So it's an MTD Mower, and it was in a bit of a state and generally not good. So I didn't have any red paint or MTD stickers and all that. So what I do have is matte black, and I blasted it with matte black a season or two ago. But ever since then, the drive belt at the back there is jumping off. And a few days ago, the belt that runs the cutters, that also shredded, and I had a fan belt that's a similar size, but it's not, because it's not wide and not good, and there's a ball going by itself. So we're going to replace all the belts. It's got 3 belts on this: a front drive belt, a rear clutch belt, and then the cutter belt. So the first thing to do is remove the deck, and the workings of these are all housed inside this weir box, and some you can got an inspection panel you can take off there, and this one definitely hasn't. So I think the best thing we can do is drop the deck, roll it on its side, and go from there. It wasn't a job I particularly wanted to do today. Well, it wasn't a job I particularly wanted to do anyway. I've got enough things to do, and of course I shouldn't be doing anything. So this is the next job: get underneath, pull the deck off, which is quite an easy process, and then I think the best thing to do is empty out the fuel and just roll her on her side, see if we can get to underneath. And I think there's a wheel or two I'll show you once we get the battery out, because underneath there is the battery and the battery carriage, and that shows us the jump wheels. Well, there was an issue I remember underneath. We'll get to the underneath in a minute, but I remember there was some kind of issue with a spring somewhere, and this hook up here, this spring didn't have anywhere to go, and when I made the hook I fabricated this on to put this spring in, but that's just for lifting and lowering the deck. There's an additional spring up here. I mean, you can't see, and I haven't got my light on anyway. Right, let's make a start on this and get some tools and get the rear deck off. I'm sure I've talked about this in a previous video, but the first thing to do in removing the deck is to lower it all the way down. And I've got this kind of carry-on here, which is just, anyway, that's a waste of time. And then we've got one there, one split pin there, and then 2 over the other side. But these were also missing, so I don't know if you can see that bar there. That's one I've made up earlier. This belt, this is the temporary fan belt that I put on, and yeah, I suppose first we'll take that off. So in order to take that off, we have to lift that back up there, which takes the pressure off, and then we should just be able to, there we go, pull that off of there, and then lower it back down. Then we can go through all these. So that's like an ordinary car belt, and it's too thin, and it's too thin in here. So whilst I thought it was a good idea, it actually allowed me to finish one job badly as opposed to leaving it in the state it was in. So anyway, we'll pull these split pins out now. You should have 4 bars. This is one I made a few years ago because it was missing one, which is just a bent piece of iron rod, and then I drilled it and put splint pins through. This is obviously the original, the nice adjustable one. I'm going to take out all the, we'll take out all the bottom ones, I think. Golly. And not lose any of these, and keep all the washers and put them up there. All of these will just come out like that, and we repeat the process 4 times. Right, so we've got them all loose now. That one, this one, all 4 should be loose. That should be loose. We should be able to move the deck slightly forwards and pull it out with a bit of, there we go, easy. Right, let's get the deck out. Right, that's the deck out, and what that will enable us to do is 2 things. Firstly, check the blades underneath, but also should allow us better access up underneath to have a look to see what is going on. Right, so each one of these, as I've said before, each kind of MTD model, you see this belt is so badly cracked, but that's not the one that causes the problem. The one that causes the problem is the back one. Which, amazingly enough, is still on. But we need to have a better look to see what's going on here. We definitely need to have a better look to see what's going on. So, the other thing I don't have my knee pads in. And I don't have any fancy way of getting the gas out of the tank. So we do it the way that we know. Always fun. Now if I had a match and a beard, I could do the old fire. Oh, it don't matter. Now we just wait for that to empty and hope that this little can hasn't got a leak. And it might have, because it's not in service for a reason. And then we'll put the little can. There we go. Bit of sawdust in there, don't it? It stops the rattles. And I seem to think that's in the gearbox. Yeah, sawdust in the gearbox stops the rattles. Right, there we go. Now we can take off our washers and our spring clips we've left lying around before we lose that lot and get it up in the air. Well, that looks ridiculously dangerous. I mean, of all the places, anyway, we're not going into that. Yeah, but there's a, anyhow. So, yeah, that don't look good. The things you have to do. Do we have a light on? Yes. Have I put my knee pads in? No. Mind your back. Okay. This gives us a better view as to what's going on in here. So this first pulley, this is the drive pulley for the belts. The second one up there is the drive to the main clutch, which is there. And you can see that belt, that's at it anyway. And then from the clutch to the rear axle is this secondary belt. If this comes down, I'm in so much trouble. So this is the second belt. This is the tensioner wheel, and the wheel back down in there is the wheel that's fixed directly to the axle. And this is the belt that keeps flying off, and it's got a lot to do with this tensioner. And it flies off when you run it back against the engine, or when you go into reverse, or sometimes it will just fly off. Now you can see this one here, there, that's already got a huge crack in it. So that was going to let go on me sooner or later. Okay, so one of the things I've noticed is those two pulleys, whilst we can get a better shot, it's still hard to see. We're not in line. There must be a reason for that belt there jumping off, as well as the crack. So I think one of the things we have to do is disable that from the clutch. I don't know how we get this new belt on here, but I suspect we're going to have to remove the entire mechanism. I'm not sure. I didn't film that bit because I can't do two things with one hand. Okay, so that's the new drive belt on. So the plate that surrounds that, you have two nuts, one there and one there, and you have to take this surrounding plate off. Also, whilst I've got this spring under tension with the ratchet strap, I undone the centre nut there to loosen up the clutch wheel so I can slide the new belt on without untensioning all these springs and other things I can't do just right at the moment. So then the next belt on is this new one here. They're funny old colour, but they're supposed to be Kevlar belts. So now we've got to thread all this one in here onto the back clutch plate wheel there. And onto that one, and this is the tensioner wheel. It gives me all the grief. So we'll see if we can thread all this next one in there. So what I didn't show you was we loosened that to wiggle to get the first belt on, but there's a side plate there that holds this whole mechanism back. I've also loosened that to get enough to get the belt in, so we've got this second belt in, although it's not attached. And then, where are we? Here. And we can do this back up. Before we do it back up. Mate. Before we do it back up. We need to put this large washer on. Take your finger away from the camera so on it. Oh, I can't sit like this, my back is killing me. Okay. So now we've got this other belt in behind there, we can do this back up. I don't even know what we're showing here. Get that out of the way, because that's just in the way of the camera. I can't even imagine why I'm doing this in 30 degrees. Well, I'll tell you why. Because I haven't been able to cut any of the grasses. And this time of the year it grows 24/7. And if I don't hurry up and get another cut in, then I'll end up having to cut it all twice at two different heights, and it just costs more it takes more time, it's more strain on the machine. Okay, now we've got that one in, we'll pull this wheel back, slide this down and get it onto the back, and then let the tensioner wheel go. And then I think we can take this ratchet strap off now, which is pulling this up so that I could get the first belt on, but now we want it to go back down. So basically, if you let go of this, there we go, that'll go shooting down there like that. Take that off. Right, that pulls this belt tight, and then that gives us enough room to get that in there. Let's fiddle that in there. This has got to be the most non-descriptive piece of work I've ever done. Sorry about that. Okay, so now we've got this back belt on there, down there, around that pulley, and this tensioner here. So I think we're done here, and we can let it back down and work on the deck. Of course, now it's sitting on its toe bolt down there. That's not going to be so easy to get down. Anyway, I don't know what's happened to that. It's even more bent and wobbly than it was before, isn't it? Oh, you want that, I suppose. And I want this. Right, so that's them two belts on there. Do you think we should... I'll tell you what I'm thinking. I'm thinking we should test this before we put that deck back on. That's what I'm thinking. It's even more wobbly and I don't know what's... Well, I ain't got a screw in there, that won't help. Okay. Some of you must be wondering why there's a big hole there. Well, that's so I can direct drive start it when the battery ain't flat. I put a 21mm socket on that on an extension bar on a battery driver, and I give it all the beans. Alright, let's fill it up with gas, and then we just test that those two work first. Before this used to just slap around, and the clutch, well, it might as well have been Fred Flintstone's lawnmower. But now it feels like when you put it in gear, it actually goes into gear. So that's the result. So I think we're good now. Slide the deck back underneath. Spread all this belt around where it's supposed to be. On that one, and that one. We've got all our little bits hanging down in there, yep. Line all this up, let that down. Everything should be around about where it needs to be, give or take a bit. Right, we'll get that on. Alright, there's the old belts. There's the deck back on. I've got this thing to deal with. Now I suppose we just see if it works. Well, that was hard work. Right, so there we are, belts changed. New Kevlar belts actually will last a bit longer. It drives nice. It definitely drives nice. We think we need to go test it now in a real world situation. What you didn't see was, despite all the work we done on this yesterday and the 3 new belts, that rear drive belt threw itself. So for the last 962.4 times it's thrown itself off, it's gone over the drive wheel. But today it wrapped itself round underneath the drive wheel, and I normally have a screwdriver in my pocket. Well, I have several things in my pocket, but the screwdriver is the important thing, so I can take the battery carriage out to get to the belt. Anyway, I managed to wangle it back on there, but it ain't fixed. So that means it's got to be the tensioner wheel. And it flies off when you run back against the engine, or when you go from first forwards to reverse. So I'm kind of got to keep it in forwards, I suppose, keep it in drive, stop it from flying off. I don't know what it is now. Anyhow, that's one done. On to the next lot. Thought I'd take you for a little walk around here. Unfortunately, I can't use the other camera because last night this lovely thing went in the bottom of the river, and the other camera lens is behind the face, and mushrooms. I think it's the 4th of July. Yes, it is. Happy 4th. Happy 4th of July. So it might be the 4th of July, but we're only 6 weeks out of winter, and there you got mushrooms. So it's not so bad here. The grass don't grow so thick because of the tree cover, but it's all good. And what's unfortunate about all of these beautiful places, well, it's fortunate for me, there's the one we've just come from. So we've just cut that one there, and now we've cut this one here. Is the owners are not here because of the COVID excuse. So this is the 2nd year. It's It's sad for them. It's peaceful though. It's quiet. So what we're going to do is that's 2 down. We've got a lot to do today. So this cabin over here, this is the second earliest cabin, or thereabouts, in the village. And this had a really nasty extension on and was in a really bad state of repair. And when the owner of this cabin bought this land, he inherited this, which is probably the second oldest cabin in the village. And I say that because that is the oldest recorded cabin in the village. And this is what they would have started with. This is when the men were sent north to open up this beautiful place. And this is what they would have lived in. It's not lived in now. And then this is what they would have moved into much later. But this face that you're looking at here, this is new. I just put a new fascia on that and some corner posts. Replaced the window, that was a door, and put a new front door in over there, and the owners have painted it all up. It looks very nice. Very nice. You can see here where the extension was. On top of these stones, you can see the outline. But it's very nice, and underneath the tin there, just on the edge, you can see the old pine shingles. And then they just put tin straight over the top. This is really common here. Anyway, let's tidy that building up. Like I say, that's the oldest building. And here is, in one of the other videos, I think it was the tree cutting video. I showed you a potato cellar cut into a hill. Well, whilst it's difficult to see, this hole in the ground here is, if this is the oldest house cabin in the village, then this was the first root cellar, potato cellar. And that's where they used to keep their food in the summer to stop it from rotting, and in the winter to stop it from freezing. And that would have been built up with stone with a small wooden roof, which would have had cedar shingles on it, and it's collapsed. It'd be very nice to restore that one day. And these cabins, these were built by axe. But we are going to go and have a cup of coffee. Now, we could sit on one I made earlier in another video, my signature pieces. Look at that. But look at the view from that. Here's one of my tags. Look at that. And that's to come down. I'd kind of forgot about that with my back and everything that's been going on. That's a widow maker if ever I saw one. Also very dangerous to cut, because you know she's going to want to explode on it. Look at that. Like that. That's going to want to kill you. That's what that is. And as you cut into it, it's very possible, with all the weight above it, it's going to want to come straight down on you. And that's why I like to catch them early. I like to catch them very early, so you've got some. So there's the next one. You see that one? It's dead. And then this one. These are diseased. And there's the one behind it. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's another one going to go. In fact, there's another 2, and they're dead. So you've got 5 or 6 very big trees all there. And what do you need to avoid? You need to avoid that and that. And I'm not sure which way that one's going to want to go. It's weighted that way, but anyway, we'll try not to think about that today because it's a job that's got to happen. Now, where's the path? Oh, over here. It's the absolute one that's got to happen. And the thing that worries me about this one is it's way past due. And when their owners are here, there's children and yeah. Anyway, I've got to get that down, but not today. We're going to go and have a nice cup of coffee now. And then my friend keeps his boat down here because he is the cousin of the owner. So if you thought the original settlers were all related, well, so were all the expats in one form or another. Yeah, except me. I'm not related to any of them. Look at that. Now that buoy out there, I connected a rope and a chain from this rock over here. Doesn't actually appear to be connected to anything. Right, well, there was a rope leading between that rock and that rock out there. So that this pontoon here can be launched and pulled out. It's a bit of a shame that just sitting there, but anyhow. That's what I made earlier. And that sits out there and the kids just have a whale of a time. Anyway, we're going to sit and enjoy a cup of coffee.